Christopher from Malta Blockchain Summit. I'm interviewing Prash from XDAT. What do you think about the atmosphere here?
I think it's wonderful. It's got a great vibe. Considering Malta just had a conference a few weeks ago, I think the turnout is awesome. Yeah. And this space keeps surprising me with the energy it has.
So can you tell me a little bit about your background, about the platform?
Yep. So I'm Prash. I'm the CEO of XDAT.io. That's Exchange of Digital Assets with Trust. My background is I was 10 years with Morgan Stanley in London in investment banking. I've done roles in structured finance across trading, financing, and originations. And towards the end, I was in an advisory team. So where I was working with European banks and central governments in working their way out of the banking crisis that had been created. So I was in charge of buying and selling non-performing assets and portfolios, and my clients would be European banks and institutions for the sell, and for the buy it would be private equities and hedge funds. So that's what I was doing in my past life, and earlier this year I then jumped ship to blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and I've just launched my first exchange out of Malta, which is XDAT.io. And it's been a great ride so far.
It's quite an impressive background, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's a very long list. You know, volatility is obviously something that's decreasing in the sector at the moment. What do you think? Where do you think we're going in terms of Bitcoin and other altcoins in the market?
Volatility. Look, in the last few months, it's been at an 18-month low at this point, which is a good thing. But then I guess there aren't as many new entrants into this space. I think that rate has been decreasing as compared to like 8 to 10 months ago. In terms of price going forward, I think Bitcoin has a very good future. We are, I think, only scraping at the top of the iceberg at this point. We haven't had a lot more retail investors come in who would probably want to, and frankly, we haven't even touched the institutional investor space. I think all of them are looking to enter this space at this point. So that's about Bitcoin. Out of that, I think the top 10, top 20 currencies at this point have also, from their liquidity and from their reach, I think they have a pretty decent future. Eventually, out of the 2,000 and odd coins we have, I think not all of them will be successful. So many of the altcoins, I think some of the scams will all get erased if they haven't been already. And if I'm looking at a 5-year picture from now, there will be, I guess, some 70 to 100 coins and tokens which will still be existing and will be thriving. I guess the next stage in this space is for many of those products to start showing traction and revenue. As that happens, I think many of them, you'll have certain verticals where certain coins will be the coins to go to. So you'll have the financial segment for payments, you will have retail, you will have gaming, you will have healthcare, etc. So I see that many coins can proliferate across these regions and boom, but then it will still be in total around, say, 100. I think the rest will struggle.
Yeah, many predictions say that about 90% of coins at the moment will just disappear because they'll just fail. Who knows?
Yeah, we need to wait and watch.
we need to wait and watch. Yeah. Okay, in terms of liquidity, you mentioned liquidity. How do you guys ensure that there is enough liquidity for traders and investors in the market?
Sure. So at this point, XDAT is only hosting the top 10 most liquid coins. And we are integrating with fiat currencies as well. So we will have Euro as the first fiat currency on the exchange. Now, because we have only the top 10 coins, those are fairly liquid in the market. So that way, there will be a lot of demand for those. We are also having market makers integrated on the exchange who will be supplying liquidity as well. Plus, the Euro fiat that we have will also bring in, we hope, new capital into this space, which should also add to the liquidity.
So a lot of big companies and exchanges like Coinbase focus a lot on user experience, as you know. So UX and UI are kind of a big thing to bridge the gap between the consumer and obviously the product. What do you guys do on that front?
So no, I completely agree. Having an easy UI UX goes a long way in attracting customers. I think the first phase of evolution in this space has attracted mostly online savvy and tech savvy people who are very comfortable even navigating through not the easiest of UI UXs. But I think Coinbase has set, I think, the standard for the easiest UI UX. So at this point, our UI UX, we believe, is also very easy. We have two different types of trading portals. So one is for a beginner, where they're not exposed to candlesticks and charts and order books, etc., because that might just be overwhelming for them. So they can just go in and buy one coin for another, or one coin for euro, or the other way. It just is a very straightforward buy and sell. But we also acknowledge that there are quite a few sophisticated traders who like to look at candlesticks and those aspects as well. So we have an advanced trading interface as well for such traders. So we are trying to cover both sides of the coin.
KYC processes are often seen as tedious, boring, very long. What are you guys doing on that front?
I mean, look, I can see why people say it's boring, it's tedious, etc. This space, I think, has gotten used to not doing KYC. Coming from a traditional financial background, I can see why that could be a big issue in the medium term and long term. That's why I think there's a lot of cynicism around this space, because you just allow anyone to do anything at this point. We are taking a lot more conservative approach around it. We only allow trading with full KYC. Again, it might not be the most appealing to start with, but we are always thinking long term, and we are thinking how well we can coexist with the current economy. And I think for that, doing full KYC, knowing your customer, and also monitoring the transactions as to where it is all coming from, I think it is quite important. So even if it's a slightly tedious way, we are trying to ensure that our KYC process is fast. I think at this point it is the fastest for any fiat to crypto exchange. We can integrate people on the exchange within a day, which I think is quite fast for full KYC, which is a mix of automation and also a dedicated team that we have. So we will do full KYC, no doubt, but we will do it as seamlessly and easily as possible so people can get onto the platform and start trading.
Yeah. I mean, that's bound to boost your client base.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, last question. So there's a lot of talk about decentralized exchanges that function on either Ethereum or ERC20 tokens and all that stuff. Do you guys have any plan to move into that space, or do you think the technology is too early? What do you think?
So currently our exchange is centralized. Now, frankly, decentralized exchanges at this point have a lot of shortcomings. They are slow, they have very low volumes, which kind of, I guess, goes hand in hand. Also they do KYC, etc., but then it's decentralized, it's P2P. I'm completely focused on like a regulated approach for all my exchanges going forward. So I struggle to see how a decentralized exchange can be regulated when you don't have a centralized point of authority whom the government can go after. If there is a centralized point of authority, then it's no longer decentralized. So I think it's a great concept. I really like the utopian concept of a decentralized economy, but I am also being quite practical and thinking of this long term. So we don't have any immediate plans of going the decentralized route.
Warren Buffett recently called Bitcoin rat poison squared.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I mean, look, I don't think at this stage cryptocurrencies or even Bitcoin as the type of followers that it should. People like Warren Buffett being one of them. Now again, they have been quite traditional in their approach. They have been massive followers and have been lots very successful in the traditional economy with the fiat economy. Now I beg to disagree with what Warren Buffett has to say. I mean, big fan of his success and his work. But if you think about it, I mean, if you just split everything apart, and if you think from financial background, right? If there is a currency that allows me to like transfer that currency from, say, a remote place in India to a remote place in Somalia, for example, instantly, right? That is a massive advantage. If I have to like convert the Indian rupee into the Somalian currency and send it over there, it will take days, right? It has a massive cost. You are bound to fall under some counterfeiting or like some sort of fake transactions. You have to go through a middleman. So I mean, it's not like I'm trying to beat the trumpet here for Bitcoin, but then it's just like a very fascinating use case for Bitcoin. I mean, there are sure many other coins, many other use cases, but this I think is the crux of the entire thing. This is the first coin that came out, and I just like think it's quite fascinating. So I don't think it will completely replace all the various fiat currencies we have, but I think it definitely has the potential to stand on its own across. Along with many of these other currencies.
And to your point, people in Venezuela are also using currencies like Dash and Bitcoin as well.
Correct.
It's actually better.
Again, I mean, look, if we bring up examples like Venezuela, Iran, Zimbabwe, then I guess that's. I mean, they are using it for their own reasons, but I would also point out to like Japan, for instance, right? It's a very advanced country. It's one of it's the third biggest GDP country as well. So they are adopting cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in a big way. It's not legal tender as such, but then they accept it as like a formal currency within the country. And I think that is so. It's not just like the weaker countries that are adopting it, but even many of the stronger countries. So if you look from 2008 to 10 to 12 to now where we are now, the adoption has consistently increased. I think there's still a long way to go, but there are more believers at this point than there were at any time in the past.
Yeah, hodlers are going all the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's imagine I'm a newbie, I don't know what I'm doing, I want to get into trading. Can you give me 30 seconds of why I should use your platform?
Sure. So at this stage, why you should use our platform is number one, if you're a newbie, then the only way you can enter the crypto space is by using a fiat currency. So we allow you to transact with euros, so you can buy your first Bitcoin or any other currency that you want on our platform. Number two is you will probably find our platform as one of the easiest to log in, to sign up, to do KYC and trade. Number three is we are gathering trust for the wider economy by getting ourselves licensed. So we will be regulated and you can feel comfortable trading with us as you would with any other stock exchange. And number four, most critically, we are also the cheapest fiat to crypto exchange in the market today. And we have the best referral and incentive awards. So if you want to bring your friends in tomorrow, then you get a percentage, 40% of the fees that they pay to us as an exchange. So that's, I think, the best incentive for you also to bring more believers into the system. So with all these, I think we are probably like the best positioned exchange out there for you, for any newcomer, or even frankly for any existing trader as well.
Okay, a bit more than 30 seconds, but I'll take it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Prash.